Hey, I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you were able to relax and recharge and be around some people that you love and that fill you up. I know we had a great weekend. And, one of the things outside spending time with my family that I just love is continuing to learn and continuing to get better and trying to figure out how to be a better husband, a better dad, and a better coach, and all the things that I do. And one of the things I've been really challenged by is a book called It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. It's something that I have been processing, this concept of how to think neutral. See, we often struggle with being stuck in the past. We get into a scenario where like something happened and it just sticks with us. We did something wrong. We made a mistake. Somebody else made a mistake. Somebody did something to us that wasn't fair or right. And we get stuck. It keeps us from going to where we should be. It keeps us from going down paths that will ultimately lead us to where our full potential is or to where we want to be. And it was really interesting to read in this because in those scenarios, people like me often come in and they'll say something positive like, hey, you can do it. Just keep your head up and keep pushing forward. And it's everything's good. Just keep going. And in reality, it's really hard to do. He uses this analogy in the book that talks about if you're driving a car in reverse and you need to go the other way, you can't just punch it into drive. You can't just punch it forward. You have to get yourself neutral first. You have to stop going backwards. And that's what I loved is this thought process of thinking neutral and how do you do that? There's a couple things just stuck out to me. And number one is that he talks a lot about working with college football teams in Florida State and Alabama and Georgia. And, one of the things that he learned along the way is that every play matters. And when you watch a game, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, this, every play matters. You come down, the game comes down to a couple points that you may have given up in the first quarter or something happens and it sticks with you. You give up a run in baseball in the first inning, that's going to stick with you throughout the rest of the game. But while that play matters, while it's important, and we have to take responsibility for each play, each moment, each thing in our life, the cool thing is it's not predictive of what's going to happen in the future. It is not predictive of what's going to happen in the future. See, this idea of taking each thought captive and understanding where you are in reality, recognizing that it matters, but then also understanding that it has nothing to do with what you do next. It's not indicative. It's not predictive. It's not going to tell you like, hey, you made this mistake, so of course you're going to make the next one. That's not the case. This thought process can help you in everyday scenarios where you have to make minor and mundane decisions, but it can also help us in high crisis or super impactful decisions. And that's what I love and what it's challenged for me is how do you think differently? How do you continue to grow? And how do you get better? I want you to know that things have happened in the past, either on your end or on somebody else's end to you. And sometimes it stinks. I get it. But what I want you to know is, regardless of what has happened in your past, you can make a choice to change the future by staying present in this moment. And all you have to do is start to think about what you need to do now. We use the acronym W.I.N. What's important now? Don't focus on what's behind you. Don't focus on what's in front of you, but stay focused in right now. And I want you to know something. This is not easy. This is not something you're going to be like, oh, dude, I saw this video. Boom, started thinking about right now, and everything's great. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be pushed. And you're going to come to moments where you're like, well, you know what? It's just too much. It's too overwhelming. It's too hard. I can't do it. But just like anything, you have to train your brain. And you have to spend time in it. And the difficulty of this is in order to grow, you have to be in scenarios where you're challenged. And so I know you're going to face challenges this week. You know it. Some may be bigger than others, but each one is an opportunity to take each moment and each thought captive and stay focused in the present moment. One of my favorite stories in the book was about Russell Wilson, and he was leading the Seahawks, and they were down by 16 points to the Packers, I think in 2018, in the NFC Championship game. Packer fans, I know this is painful for you. But he threw 4 interceptions throughout the course of the game, and they were down 16 points late. And instead of thinking, man, I've really stunk this place up today, this is awful. He was asked in an interview by Bryant Gumbel on Real Sports, he said, you really don't think about you're stinking up the place and it's, I'm having an awful game? He said, no, I don't. I stay focused on what's important now, what's right in front of me. And ultimately ended up leading his team back to victory and going on to the Super Bowl by focusing on one play at a time. You see, he had prepared and planned and knew what the Packers were going to do, and ultimately was able to use his planning and preparation to help him overcome his mistakes. Look, he was responsible for his mistakes. He was responsible for the interceptions. No matter if they bounced off the pads of a tight end, one of them, or somebody made a bad cut or whatever the case may be, he was responsible for them. He's the quarterback of the team. He's the leader. But at the end of the day, he's also responsible for getting over that and focusing on what's important now and doing his very best with what he has in this moment. He wasn't going to throw a 16-point touchdown pass. He had to do it one play at a time. And you can too. So whether you're looking for some weight loss, whether you want to start making an impact of where you're at in your job, look, we'll take weight loss, right? Fat loss. You want to make a change. I can guarantee you this. You can go out and eat well tomorrow, and maybe the scale will say a little bit different the next day. Maybe not. But what I know is if you ultimately want to make a change, you have to continue to do it day after day after day. You have to make the right choices. You don't have to make perfect choices. You have to make right choices. And you have to continue to do that. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, weekends, mornings, whatever it is. You have to make the right choices all the time. Most of the time. You are where you are because of the decisions you've made. But guess what? That doesn't mean you're stuck to them. It doesn't mean you're a prisoner of where you're at. You can make the changes. So I want to encourage you today to go out and to make the step that you need to do right now. The old saying is there's a journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step. Focus on the step that's in front of you. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Focus on where you're at and do the best you can with where you're at and win. Focus on what's important now. And don't forget, as always, to be great today. See ya.